The Hydro GritCleanse Fluidized Bed Grit Washer combines grit washing, concentrating, and dewatering into a single unit. The system is effective at producing a very clean, very dry end product, while retaining small and slowly settling grit particles. The GritCleanse is typically sized to remove 95% of all grit 75 micron and larger, and produce output grit containing 5% volatile solids or less, and 90% or more total solids under normal operating conditions. Flow is introduced tangentially into the conically shaped clarifier, establishing a rotary flow pattern. As flow is introduced tangentially, grit is immediately placed in contact with the vessel walls, creating drag forces that encourage grit particles to quickly settle into the grit bed at the bottom of the clarifier. A return baffle located near the top of the water surface and above the inlet pipe prevents incoming grit from exiting with the degritted effluent, effectively reducing grit loss. Grit and heavier organics fall to the grit bed, while the very light organic material remains in suspension and exits the unit along with the degritted effluent. Washing occurs in the fluidized grit bed, where stirring arms slowly and gently agitate the grit, while water is introduced from the bottom to fluidize and expand the grit bed. The expansion of the grit bed allows the captured particles to separate by density, with the heavier grit particles settling more quickly than the larger, less dense organic materials. The cleaned grit settles to the bottom, while heavier organic particles collect on top of the grit bed over time. The organics are drawn off the top of the grit bed intermittently, based on a timer, and flow out of the Hydro GritCleanse to the downstream treatment process. The depth of the grit bed is monitored by a pressure sensor. Once a predetermined setting is reached, the shafted auger cycles intermittently to transport the cleaned grit out of the unit and into a dumpster for disposal. The GritCleanse captures 95% of grit, 75 micron and larger, at influent flows ranging from 150 to 300 gallons per minute, or 15 to 19 liters per second. At its peak hydraulic capacity of 400 gallons per minute, or 26 liters per second, the Hydro GritCleanse removes 95% of all grit 212 micron and larger, the typical design point for European designs. The Hydro GritCleanse can wash and dewater collected grit from any type of grit collection system and produce a very clean, very dry product. The GritCleanse, when paired with Hydro International's HeadCell or Grit King advanced grit collection products, provides best-in-class protection for any wastewater treatment plant. Hydro-supplied systems typically remove 95% of all grit entering the treatment plant. When clean, dry grit is the goal, the GritCleanse Fluidized Bed Grit Washer by Hydro International delivers and captures more grit than European designs. Visit hydro-int.com to learn more.